Hi, my name is Vianney. I'm a fourth year linguistics major with a French minor.
My name is Jessica Swineham. I'm an anthropology major and I am a fifth year transfer student.
Albert Sarian, sociology, class of 2016.
So I'm a Hispanic Latina female. I'm a Christian and I identify as straight. Growing up, I belong to the lower working class.
I am Caucasian and a female. I am heterosexual and I was raised Catholic. I was raised in middle class, more along the lines of middle class to upper middle class.
White Armenian immigrant, male, heterosexual, atheist. Well, my dad had a master's in engineering from Armenia. My mother had a bachelor's in education. My dad was an engineer in America, so I guess like lower middle class, or middle class, I guess. And then my dad, he lost his job in 2006, and he's been unemployed since. So.
I think it helped me a lot. My mom always made sure I went to like the best schools in our district. So I think I always had access to resources, especially like in middle school and high school. We had tutors. I had a very easily accessible counselor in high school because I was in a program called Academy. So I was able to go in and talk to him whenever I needed help or whenever I didn't know what I was doing later on, or even help with like university.
One of the privileges that I had in my education is my first elementary school was a Catholic school, and they had really great teachers there. Everything was a private school, so they would. But then I switched from private school to public school after about second grade, and it was really interesting because it seems like with public schools, any resources kind of disappear. One of the things that I still did continue, actually then through high school, was speech therapy and therapy for my learning disorders.
In regards to education, particularly my dad, he knows math, so he helped me a lot in math. But regarding higher education in the United States, they had no clue, and especially with the pay, it was a bit ridiculous. But other than that, like initially with math, it helped. Other than that, it was pretty much on my own because everything else was in English. So outside of institutional resources, so I had a friend where she was top in her class, in our class in high school, and she was really close to the college counselor, and pretty much all the information she got from the counselor, she would help me. And what ended up happening was that she told me what the SATs were, when to apply for the UCs, when to write the personal statement, and all that stuff.
Well, as far as resources go, the one thing I remember most, I think, was in high school. I enrolled in a program called Academy. They were very university oriented, and so it was the counselor for that. He pushed his students a lot to apply to university, to apply for college, to do better for yourself. So I think that helped a lot as far as like finding out about university and applying and stuff.
I would say the biggest resource that helped me go to college was actually my mom. My mom's a PR person, and at the time when I was in high school, she was working for a college system, and she actually signed me up for night classes. So when I was 15, I started going to a few, like one night class a quarter. So I was taking college classes, then doing high school classes at the same time. So I would say it was her influence that really helped me kind of move on into college and understand kind of like the aspect of community college and that part.
I guess institutional resources. ESL helped a lot. I guess we had to go like to have special classes outside of class just to try to learn English. And then in high school, I took like AP classes.
I don't know about most people, but as far as my friends go, I feel like half of them went to university and half of them kind of just started working and like had kids.
So for my high school, the people who did end up graduating, I would say about 50% of us went to either college, a four-year college, community college, or trade school. Of the people who didn't go, and also who didn't graduate that went to my high school, either just started like minimum wage jobs, and a lot of them have already had 1 to 2 children at this point.
Really kind of split up into half. So half went to university from the beginning, And then the other half went to community college, and now they're at a university.
We were inspired to do this project because of the educational path essay that we had to do earlier in the quarter. In brainstorming for that paper, we were talking with our friends and just discussing our resources and what privileges and obstacles we had to face in order to get to UCLA. So we wanted to go out and interview other UCLA students of different social locations and see their take on it and what resources they had or didn't have. Our first interview was with Vianney Baldubino, who came from a working lower class background. And with her, we found it interesting that she had a lot of opportunities available to her, but that was only because her mom went out of her way to make sure she went to schools outside of her area in order to make sure she had those resources provided to her.
And in particular, even though she's part of the lower class, she was in this program called Academy, where she had easy access to counselors, and that helped her navigate through the college process.
Our next interview was with Jessica Twineham, who came from upper middle class. And with her, we found it interesting that she had a lot of privileges in Catholic school when she was there for a few years, but she noticed that as soon as she left Catholic school for public school, she lost a bunch of those resources, and those resources weren't available to her anymore.
But although she lost the resources, she still had her mom. Her mom was a PR person, and so when she was in high school, she was able to enroll Jessica in college classes, and it helped her be exposed to the college experience that many students in lower classes don't have.
Our last interview was with Albert Saryan, who was a middle-class immigrant from Armenia. And we found it interesting that although he was an immigrant, his immigrant experience was different from most of the immigrant experience we've talked about in class, because his parents came over already educated.
And even though they were already highly educated, they got their education in Armenia. So when they came here, they weren't familiar with the education system in the United States. Albert, like Vianney, took out of their way to find outside resources to help them navigate the college system. So unlike Jessica, who already had her mother in a high PR position, Jessica had that extra assistance.
Interviews all demonstrate the fact that meritocracy is a myth, just how we have discussed in class.
Meritocracy perpetuates the notion that hard work is the sole factor that contributes to a person's success. However, it fails to acknowledge the structural inequalities that are embedded in a person's social location.